Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulihi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmiddin wa ba'd. So we'd like to welcome you all to week 2 of our course. It's called Safinatu Najat. Not Safinatu Najat. Aqidah to Najat. And so what is the translation of Aqidah to Najat? Lord review. What does Aqidah mean? Nobody knows what Aqidah means?
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.
Aqidah, it's learning our faith, correct?
Faith, creed, beliefs, right? And so
Right.
Aqidah comes from a word, Aqada, which means to bind something together, like you tie something together with a rope. And in respect to Islam, it means the collective beliefs of the Muslims or Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, all right? Okay, and so Aqidah to Najat. Najat means like this, the saving creed, or the translation is the creed of deliverance. Why do you think they call it the creed of deliverance? Or the creed of salvation, the creed of saving?
Probably because this is what's gonna, give us true freedom, give us, the pathway to reach that. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's a good answer. So this basic it's a poem by Sheikh Muhammad Jafar al-Khatani. May Allah have mercy on him. He wrote this book as a poem, and so the minimum that a person needs to know is enough for salvation, because Aqidah can go from the very minimum that one is required to know up until some very complex discussions about belief and creed, right? And so he called it Aqidah to Najat because it's the minimum amount that a Muslim needs to know. Okay, good. All right, so inshallah, we're just going to review the
Girl, you
last week.
just said
Huh? Say it again, sis.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, we covered, before we wanted to get into the book, we covered those 10 fundamental principles. Anybody remember what the name of them are? I wrote it on the board, but I'm blocking it now so you can't see it. Let me put my hands up so you can't see it. Because then you say it, and then you know that you get the answer that don't fly.
I don't know. I wish I did.
Well, you here 2 weeks ago, sis?
No, sir, I wasn't, but I'm trying to catch up.
All right, okay. So Sister Nuna,
Uh,
you on the spot tonight. You on
M-
the hot seat.
Mubadi al I don't know if that was the
Mubadi al
10.
Asharah, right? Those are the 10
Al
fundamental
okay.
principles that apply to every Islamic science. And so you could compare it to, like, if you go to college, right? And they give you the curriculum and they give you like what's to be expected, what's the what they call that? When they give you the assignments, week 1, this, that, the grading system, the outcome, and all of that. That's similar to that, right? And so there's 10 fundamental principles before you learn any Islamic science, whether it's Aqidah, whether it's fiqh, whether it's Lugha, language, whether it's tafsir, any of those Islamic sciences, hadith. You should know 10 fundamental principles to give you a better understanding of how to extract the most out of it, right? So now when we talk about Aqidah, belief or creed, we covered 5 last week, and then we're going to cover the other 5 tonight, inshallah. So I'm just going to write the first one on the board. The first one we covered 2 weeks ago was called Al-Had. Do you remember what Al-Had is? Sister Nuna?
Definition.
Okay, you got notes. So
Definition.
you looking at notes, so what you doing?
I'm looking at notes. I wrote down.
Okay, I'll give you that. And so, yes, the definition. And so in any science, you have to know the definition of the science. What is it about? So Aqidah is religious doctrine, right? And how you determine religious doctrine. So in Aqidah, it means bringing about the proofs and evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, and being able to articulate them. And so the purpose is increasing sincerity and removing doubts. And so Aqidah is going to be basically everything related to Allah and the prophets, right? Now, under that umbrella of Aqidah, what are the things that we're going to be discussing?
I'm assuming how to pray.
No, Aqidah, just belief. Salat is under the category of fiqh. So
Oh,
learn how to
okay.
pray. Those
So
are rulings
under
of how
our
to pray.
beliefs, the 5 pillars of faith. We'll be learning that.
That's also fiqh as well.
Okay.
We're talking about strictly what is required for someone to believe in Islam. So when you take your shahada, you say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Then there's a minimum amount that you need to know for those things, for Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and by extension, all of the other prophets. And so, what are those 3 things that you're going to be discussing? Aqidah is going to be 3 categories.
Belief in the prophet,
Yeah.
the prophets, and that Muhammad was, may peace be upon him, was the last prophet sent by Allah, and and the oneness of Allah.
Yeah. Okay. But under there's an umbrella, a subcategory. So believing in Allah, believing in His prophets, and then believing in something else. All of that is connected to Aqidah as a basic minimum. So when we talk about belief in Allah, there's this term that we use. When we talk about Allah,
Tawheed.
Tawheed is one. That's a synonym for Aqidah. But under that, there's another category. I'm trying to poke the bear with Sister Nunu because she's supposed to know this stuff and she got notes. Hello?
I'm looking.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the Arabic terms and let's see if you remember. So we're gonna be talking about ilahiyat.
Are you talking about transmitted unseen?
That's one thing, but let's do it one at a
Oh,
time. So
okay.
ilahiyat, nubuwat, and sam'iyat.
Godhood, prophethood, and transmitted unseen.
Yes, so ilahiyat is everything related to Allah and to belief about Allah. Nubuwat is everything related to the prophets, right? And then sam'iyat is transmitted beliefs about things that we would not have known about them except that the prophets and messengers relate them to us, and specifically the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so such things as like the mizan, the scale of good deeds, the sirat, the bridge across hellfire, the angels question us in the graves, Munkar and Nakir. We would not have known about those things except that they were transmitted by the prophets, right? And so that actually was fall under Maudu, the second thing. Maudu, what is Maudu?
Subject matter.
Subject matter. So subject matter is the things that we're going to be discussing under Aqidah. The subject matter of Aqidah is everything related to Allah, ilahiyat, everything related to the prophets, nubuwat, and everything related to unseen matters, sam'iyat. All right. Is that clear so far?
Yes.
Okay. The third principle is tamarat. What is tamarat?
The fruit.
Okay.
Relationship with Allah.
Yeah. So the fruits or the desired outcome. Like if you plant a seed, you expect a good crop. So what's the good crop of learning Aqidah? What's the purpose of learning Aqidah? Who are you trying to get close to?
Allah.
Right. Learning, also getting close to Allah, learning correct faith, and also learn how to have certainty in Iman. Right. And actualizing our goal in this world, which ultimately our goal is to live a life that the only thing matters is Allah. And when we talked about the only thing, when we reach the level that the only thing that matters but Allah, what is that term called? It starts with an M.
And Marifa.
Ma'rifa.
Ma'rifa.
Yeah, ma'rifa means like realization or coming to the terms that the only thing that we live for, die for, our sacrifices, everything is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that comes as a means of knowing him, understanding him, and being certain about everything that he has decreed for us, right? Good. The fourth one is the nisbah. And what is the nisbah?
Relationship, foundation.
Yes. And so one of the foundational principles with respect to the signs of Aqidah is the nisbah. What is it? The relationship of nisbah to the other sciences. If you're talking about hadith, fiqh, tafsir, tajweed, all of the sciences of Islam that one learns, what is the relationship of Aqidah to them? Will it be virtuous if you learn tafsir and you didn't know Aqidah?
I don't think so. No, I
Okay.
don't think so.
All right. Sister Nunu,
Because
you want
this is like the basics.
okay. Yeah. Okay. Sister Nunu?
I was just gonna say, so it could be correct, like,
Yes, that's part of it. But a person, there is no value in the other sciences if you don't have Aqidah. So it is the head of all of those sciences. So you have to learn belief first, so before you can master anything else, right? Before you can master anything else, before you delve into hadith sciences, you have to be firm on Aqidah and knowing the correct Aqidah, right? And so you can't, if you come into it, you can't master any other science if you don't know what you believe in, right? Or you don't know the details, or at least the very minimum. And so the Sheikh here is writing the very minimum that you need to know in Aqidah in this book, all right? And then the fifth one is virtue or fadl. I gave you the answer on that one. So what is the virtue or the merits of learning Aqidah?
the highest merit assumption
Yes,
to the essence of Allah.
ascription to Allah's that, right?
Yeah.
So really
Yeah.
understanding how Allah is believed in, how is he understood, and really, being able to navigate when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees something, understanding all of these things with certainty, with ikhlas and all these things, that's the virtue, to warm the heart, to make the heart secure. All right. And so these five, the definitions in detail is on the video from 2 weeks ago. And so now I'm going to write down these. All right. Can you all see the board?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, number 6, the sixth Mubadi al Asharah, the sixth foundational principle is called al-Wadi, which means the founder. So in the science of Aqidah, who is the founder of belief?
Allah?
Yes. And how is he the founder? Which way?
Because he created everything and everyone.
Okay. Right. So how do we know that he did that?
Oh, because we can see it.
That's one
He's
thing, but
told us so.
he told us where?
Um, Now, do we have to just talk about the Quran, or can we talk about other books?
The revelation. The Quran is the revelation he told us in detail, right? But the other books, the Quran is a corroboration of those books.
Right.
So
Okay.
we talk
So in
about
the
through the
Quran,
revelation. So you can say through the other revelations because we believe in them in general. We believe in them in general. But through the revelation, and for us, we mean the Quran, right?
yes.
Now, that's just as basic. Allah revealed it, and also through his signs and all of that. He is the founder of Aqidah. Now, how about as a science? Because we study Aqidah as a science.
I believe that we can see that some of the things that Allah is telling us are being proven by science.
Right. Okay. But science doesn't necessarily prove everything that we believe.
That's true.
Right. So science is just something that if it agrees with what we believe, fine and well. Right. But if it doesn't agree to what we believe, that doesn't mean our belief is any less valid. You know. So for instance, scientists don't they believe in extra I can't think of the word, extraordinary or supernatural events, but they won't give it the credit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And so as a science, just Aqidah, we talking about as a science, like how science is studied. As a science, what's the foundational principle? Who came up with this term Aqidah? Because there's not mentioned in the Quran about the belief in Islam being called Aqidah. And then the Prophet ﷺ never called Tawheed Aqidah. And the companions never called Tawheed Aqidah, even though they're interchangeable.
Is it an Arabic word?
Yeah, it's an Arabic word. No, well, let me give another example. So the founder of this as a science, so it's enough to believe and not knowing the details. But how is Aqidah when respect to, say, if you have to teach somebody about Aqidah, what is the format? Can you just say, Allah is one without any partners to someone who doesn't believe in Allah?
No.
It has no bearing, right? But so as a science, the founder of the science of Aqidah are two people. Imam Abul Hassan al Ashari and Imam Abu Mansur al-Maturidi. And so when we talk about as a science, that these two imams globally were responsible for codifying the science of Aqidah. So what do we mean by that? So let me ask you this. Do you know of any Aqidah books or books about Tawheed written by the companions? Have you ever read one?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
Any of you, did you ever wonder why?
Yes, I have.
Why do you think that they didn't write one? Just take a guess.
I knew that they could read and write. Maybe they didn't have the materials to make it long term, or maybe they did and we just, you know, don't know where it
No,
is.
they had the material because they wrote down the Quran, they wrote down some
That's
hadith.
true.
But the thing is, they didn't need it. You know why?
Word of mouth?
They lived with the Prophet ﷺ. He was the embodiment of Tawheed. And
Um,
so, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, which is the essence of Tawheed, that was enough for them. That was enough for them to have certainty and belief in Allah, and living with the Prophet ﷺ also increased that certainty. So they didn't need to write down books for clarification because it came as a science as a means for clarification. But if you're already convinced about something, you don't need to read a book about it, right? Nobody has to give you a book about how the sun shines and the the degrees that it raises up and all of that stuff, right?
true.
You don't need to be convinced about that. And
That's
so the
very
same
true.
way, they didn't need to have a book written to convince them, right? And so now when Islam started to spread, and then when Islam was they went to Mecca and they went to Medina, and then Islam started to spread. So they went to Syria and Yemen and Baghdad and China, and so in Iran, which is the old Persian Empire, Iraq was the old Mesopotamia Empire, right? So these people had civilizations before Islam, and they also had beliefs, right? And so when the companions and then their students started traveling around the world, they encountered these beliefs. They encountered coming across these people who had these beliefs, which were really foreign to Islam. And so as time passed, the companions, they would address these people orally, but they didn't really write down. And so these two imams were instrumental in codifying the beliefs of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah as we have it right now, especially with respect to countering some of the false beliefs. So have any of you, do you know any deviant groups that you ever heard of in Islamic history?
Yeah.
Did you say deviant groups?
Yes. So during the
The
time of the
Kurds?
Prophet,
The Kurds?
the Kurds partly, but they had a belief too, the Kurds, that
That's true.
they were Shiite. And so what are some of the beliefs of some of the Shiites, not all of them, some of the Shiites that you might be familiar with? Because usually when we think about Shiites, we think about, people who believe Ali was God and stuff like that. And that is one of them, but that's not all of them. But that was one of their beliefs. For instance, they said, and it's a group from the Shiites called the Rafida. The Rafida believed that Ali should have been the one who got the Khilafah first, and that some of them said that the angel Jibril made a mistake when he came to the Prophet ﷺ with the revelation.
I just got done, well, about a month ago, I audio read a book about, I forget what they were called, what their religion was called, but um, they were directly at odds with Muslims because in their faith, they believe that when Allah told, the angels to, bow to, to Muhammad, they did not. They, what did they do? Not to Muhammad, but
No, you might be talking about the Quran, where Allah ordered the angels to bow to Adam.
there you go, to bow to Adam. And in their religion, it was like it's not Iblis was their God, but their God, their creation of the story, what their creation story is the exact same, as ours, and they're spawned from that. And so like they were direct enemies of Muslims, and that was one reason why a lot of people were trying to make them extinct, but I don't remember what their religion was.
Okay, yeah, we have to recall that because I'm not familiar with that story. But for instance, there were a group of people who they had a pledge allegiance to Ali during his time, and then they changed their mind, and then they would turn into renegades. So these were people that were called the Khawarij. Have you ever heard of this group called the Khawarij?
No.
Okay, so the Khawarij were people who believe that a person who commits a major sin leaves the fold of Islam. Is that a belief of us as Muslims? If you commit a major
No,
sin,
not if we repent.
right? So yeah, so Tawbah is one of the things, and also making things right. No, it's not. It's not a belief for the Muslims, right? So this is one group that sprang up. There was another group that was called the Murji'ah. Anybody ever heard of this group called the Murji'ah?
No, I haven't heard it of.
So the Murji'ah were people who believe that Iman is enough and that sins don't harm your belief. Sins have no bearing on your belief or actions. So you can do all of these actions as long as you have belief, that's enough. Is that a belief of Ahl Sunnah?
No,
What is our belief?
we have to put our put works in. With our faith, we have certain guidelines that we have to to follow in order to be under the fold of Allah, to say.
Yeah. So basically, that faith is increases and decreases. It increases with good deeds and it decreases with sins, right? So it's not just, it's not enough for you to be Muslim. That's like a Christian belief as well. As long as I'm saved, I don't have to do any righteous actions. I don't have to do any work. All right. There was another group that was called the Mu'tazila. Anybody ever heard of the Mu'tazila? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Zakaria, how are you? So the Mu'tazila were a people who believe that a person that when they commit sins, they are neither a believer or a disbeliever, but they said that they are manzila bena muzalatain, that they are in a position between two positions, right? And they also believe that Allah is obligated to reward or punish you. So if you do something good, Allah is obligated to reward you, and if you do something bad, Allah has an obligation to punish you. Is that our belief?
No.
Okay, what is our belief?
We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not compelled to do anything, as his one of his attributes is al irada, which means the will. And then you in our last Aqidah class you said the possible attribute, the J's attribute, mean that whatever he wills will come into existence and whatever he doesn't won't.
All right, so in other words, Allah, he whatever he wills to do, that's what he does. He's not compelled to do anything. So if Allah wills, he can reward you, and if Allah wills, he can punish you. But it's strictly up to his will, which is one of his necessary attributes, which is called irada, which we're going to cover in the poem. All right. And so they believe that Allah is obligated to do it. There are people, a group called Mujassima, as an example, and this will be the last one, that believe that Allah is attributed with body parts. You know, so they believe that when Allah says in the Quran, yad, which is translated as hand, they believe that Allah, these attributes are real and literal for him. That means he has a hand, but we don't understand how the hand is. And so these things. So now all of these, and that was an example, but so these two imams that we mentioned, Imam Abu Hassan al-Ashari, Imam Abu Mansur al-Maturidi, they started coming and encountering these people with these odd and strange beliefs, right? And so they decided to codify what the actual belief was, right? And so a lot of it is like high level rhetoric. And so they put it in a system that worldwide, this is what Muslims believe, right? And so sometimes you'll hear people, and then also before them, there was another imam, was Imam Abu Hanifa. And so Imam Abu Hanifa, which is one of the four imams of the schools of fiqh, he also wrote a book. Anybody know the name of the book called?
I was just about to mention it. It's Al Akbar. It breaks down it's the book itself, Al Akbar.
Fiqh al-Akbar.
Yes, and it talks about all the different groups. The Carter Dia and was in that book as
Yeah.
well.
So Fiqh al-Akbar, you would think by the name that it's a book about fiqh, about rulings or worship. But Imam Abu Hanifa called it the greater fiqh, meaning Aqidah, meaning that it is greater for you to understand what your belief is, especially when you encounter people who have these deviant and errant beliefs, like some of these people that came up in his time, the Mu'tazila and Qadariya and all of these different names, that we will have to cover in another class. So these imams were basically the ones who kind of codified what is globally known as the beliefs of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, meaning how we know what to believe about Allah, what we shouldn't believe about Allah, what is possible for Allah, what is impossible for Allah, meaning according to his majesty, and also what is necessary for Allah. For Allah to be who he is, he has to possess certain traits that are unlike anything in creation. And so that's what the poem is going to cover, that as a minimum for safe belief, a Muslim has to know these things, or at least understand them. All right. So we got number 6 is Al-Wadi. The founder of Aqidah is Allah through revelation. And then the two imams Abu Hassan al-Ashari and Imam Abu Mansur al-Maturidi. Okay. Anybody y'all got that?
Yes.
Okay. So I can erase this.
Yes.
So you latecomers, you can go back and see this on the video, and I'll send my cash app to pay your late fee.
Yes,
I'm
you
the only
may.
latecomer. You throwing shade
No,
at me?
somebody else. No, I'm going direct at your neck. And there's
Yes,
another late.
assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi barakatuh, everyone. This is Sister
Another late coming
Maria.
too. You ain't
Wa
the only
alaikum
one.
assalam.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The next foundational principle out of the 10, number 7, is called al-ism. What is al-ism?
Ism means names, the name.
The name of the science, right? And so what are the different names, the name of science of Aqidah? One we know is Aqidah.
At Tawheed.
Tawheed.
What is it? Usuluddin.
Usuluddin.
What is it? What is it? I don't know how to say. I forgot the one before, but it's kalam. What is the word before kalam?
Ilm al-kalam.
Il kalam. Okay.
Ilm
No.
al-kalam.
That's right.
Okay. Any other ones? One we just gave you with one of the imams.
Oh, Ashari.
No,
It's about
another imam. He had a name for something. If you talk about Imam Abu Hassan Ashari, it would be Ilm al-kalam. One of the other imams we wrote down here, we named his book.
Fiqh al-Akbar.
Yes.
Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah.
Right. Any other names? Another one is Iman. All right. So whenever you see these names, it's so besides Aqidah, it's also known as Tawheed or Ilm Tawheed, Usuluddin, Ilm Kalam, Fiqh al-Akbar, and Iman. So as a basis, it usually started as a Tawheed, right? Knowing that Allah is one. It also started as Usuluddin. Then it started to develop into Aqidah, Fiqh al-Akbar, and Ilm Kalam. But the basis of it is really Iman, right? So when we talk about Ilm Kalam, these are like levels of how to understand, because at the base level, Aqidah is Kul Huwa Allahu Ahad. Allahu la ilaha illahu, right? Kul Huwa Allahu Ahad, and then Allah is La Sharika La. He has no partners. That is the very basis to understand and believe in this a Tawheed, right? But now as you build on this science using this foundational principle, you go through levels, right? And so the highest level will be Ilm Kalam. So you have to be at a scholarly level, right? But whenever you hear these terms, you know it's going to talk about belief in Allah and belief in his messengers, all right? Because that is the very foundation of belief. All right.
Can you say what Kul Huwallahu Ahad means?
Yeah,
For everybody that doesn't speak Arabic.
That's Surah Ikhlas, Surah 112. Kul Huwallahu Ahad. Say, he is Allah, the one and only. Allahu Samad. That Allah is the eternal, the absolute. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He does not give birth, nor is he born. Wa lam yakullahu kufuwan ahad. And there is not anything in creation that has any kind of comparable likeness or comparable to him. All right.
Okay.
That was enough for the Sahabas when they heard this verse or the surah. That was enough for them to understand what Tawheed was. But as we mentioned earlier, when the Muslims started to spread and they started encountering different belief systems, then there had to be something to put together as a curriculum, basically. And that's what it starts as, putting all the beliefs together. And then eventually it morphed into Ilm Kalam. All right. So
which
that's
is knowledge of speech, correct?
Yeah. So Ilm Kalam is the knowledge of speech or knowledge of rhetoric, or knowing how to articulate, knowing the proofs and the evidences, and how to articulate to strengthen faith and also to repel doubts, either with the Muslims or the non-Muslims. And so sometimes some of you may have read it, some of you may have mentioned, if someone says that they're Ashari, in certain crowds, that'll bring a red flag. They think that you have some different kind of belief, right? And that's not true. So when it's called Ashari Aqidah, it is attributing the nisbah, or the relation, right, or the founder, the wadi, right, to the one who codified the beliefs that were already existing and putting them in a manner that was easy to understand. Now, you just imagine during those times, they didn't have access to computers and books and all that kind of stuff like we do, right? But scholars back then, they used to write books in the way that we talk. And we run our mouths, don't we?
Yep.
Don't act like y'all run your mouths, right? Yes. Yes. That's it. That's the surah, sis. She put in the chat box. So they used to
Yeah, I
write.
know. I just wanted to you to say it because you're recording it, and for some people that don't know what it means, that's all.
Exactly. Yeah, I see you forward thinking. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate it. So they used to write books the way that we talk. And so they would write down everything sometimes. And so sometimes people will say, Ashur the Aqidah, or they believe, or they deny Allah's attributes, or some of the stuff that they say. But some of this stuff, when you reach the Ilm al-Kalam, it's a level that all of the things that is written in there is not really not for us. You know, like they say, everything ain't for everybody. And everything that's documented is not necessarily a proof. Right?
So basically, chew the chicken and throw away the bone.
Yes, but you have to have the ability to know that you're capable of chewing the chicken and the bone is in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't think you could just sit at the table and consume the food and you don't really know, you don't have no etiquettes, you know?
You don't know the ingredients of what was put in
So
here.
people
Yeah.
who prepare the meal, they know the ingredients, right? And so that's how we should think of that. All right, so number 7 is al-ism of the signs, the name of it. On all of these names, when you hear these names, it's talking about belief. All right, can I erase this?
One question.
Yeah.
So I know you could erase it, but okay, we know that Akbar means the greatest. So
Or greater.
greater. So when you break that down, does that mean the laws of understanding the greatest, which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Can we break that word down that way?
No, it
Fiqh
just means
al-Akbar?
he called fiqh al-akbar the greater understanding, because that's what
Okay.
fiqh means. So in relation to what you will learn is fiqh, like the rules of salat, the 5 pillars and everything, he's saying the greater understanding that you need to know, even more than that, is the understanding of how you believe in Allah. Is that clear?
Yes.
So
Very. Thank
fiqh
you.
al-akbar is not even related to like fiqh rule, what we normally understand as fiqh rulings and stuff. It's related to understanding how you're supposed to believe in Allah. That's greater than the regular fiqh. So in other words,
Yeah, the book is because the book starts off with explaining the different groups that came about during his time. I have the book. It came about like how to explain the different groups of his time, and he breaks down each group's understanding and what they believe regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he goes into the correct understanding, like just pinpointing, okay, they believe, like how you said the Mu'tazilah believe that the Quran was the creation. He broke down their understanding and how they went wrong in the book.
right. That's it. Okay. Is that clear for everybody? So that's why he called it the greater understanding. So that's greater understanding, belief, and the correct belief and what opposes it, even more than knowing, your regular fiqh about the 5 pillars, right? They're also important, but as we mentioned, one of the names of these principles is the nisbah, right? What's the nisbah?
Say that again. I'm
A
sorry.
good deed?
Nisbah.
A good deed?
No. Sister Nunu, you got your notes. You're a superstar and you got your notes, but when you you caught without your notes.
The relationship,
Yeah, the relationship.
foundation.
Nisbah means like connection or lineage, right? So the relationship of Aqidah to the rest of the sciences it's the most important one, right? And so that's what Imam Abu Hanifa was saying, that this fiqh akbar is the head of it. It's the greatest understanding that you need to know. So without understanding Allah properly and believing him correctly, then all of the other pillars are not going to do you any good, or any other beliefs, right? So good. So number 8.
Action is deficient without correct belief.
Exactly. So the next one is called al-istimdad. and istimdad, which means the sources. So with respect to this science of Aqidah, right? What are the sources that we learn Aqidah from?
The Quran, the Sunnah, the
Okay.
Ijma,
Okay.
Qiyas,
Qiyas. Um,
from the Mujtahid, right? Would that be from the
I don't
I mean,
know if
because we
Qiyas.
don't really do it, right? I remember the
No,
last
not
class you said we don't.
no, not in Qiyas. Not Qiyas. I'm not. I have to check that one out. But also, we talking about Hukum Akli, rational judgments, right? So, or yeah. Um, so the Quran is the first source of learning Aqidah, right? Allah tells you who He is. Allahu la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. You know, all of those things, the ayahs relate to Allah and how He tells us, you know, who He is. The second one is the Sunnah, or the reports of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or what he said that's recorded in the Hadith. The third one is Ijma, and so Ijma is important. So this came later, once the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, and then the companions, you know, they started to gather the beliefs up because companions were dying and people were moving out, and then people were encountering different things, right? And so Ijma, and then the other part, we say hukum akli, a rational judgment. So when you learn Aqidah, right, and after you go through these three sources, you have to use your akal, right? You have to use your intelligence because Allah didn't reveal the belief in Him for it to not make sense. And as you heard this saying, God is not the author of confusion. I think that's a verse in the Bible, right?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, something like God is not the author of confusion. And so then you have to use, so it's not enough that proofs are available because people say, yeah, what's your dalil for this? Having understanding or intelligence about the proofs is also part of the science. So you just can't read it and not know what's going on. So, and you heard this term, we talked about akal and nakal, right? Have you all heard
Yes.
this term?
Yes.
Nakal versus akal.
So textual proofs versus rational intellectual proofs.
Yes. So they actually not verses, but they complement each other. So for instance, this is one of the beliefs of the Mu'tazila, that they believe that they wouldn't believe in a revelation if it didn't appeal to the rational mind. Meaning that if they couldn't understand it, then they would discard it. But that's not the belief of Ahlus Sunnah or Jama'ah. What is our belief?
What do you mean?
Like, how do we understand the text?
We understand it as it was written. We don't negate. We don't do any negation regarding. We don't have a modality. The how we don't regarding certain texts. We know that as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states that some things are allegorical, which means they're left only for Him to know. But
Okay.
we believe everything
How
that it says.
do you know all that stuff? You just know about reading it?
No, we use knuckle and akal.
Yeah,
We
your
use
mind
the we
makes
have
sense of it. Your mind already makes sense of it, you know, and that's the why Aqidah, as it is the most important science, is the most simple one to learn because it's going to appeal to your intellect, right? So you're not going to say something and believe, you're not going to discard it because you might not understand it, you know, or you believe that it's not applicable, but your intellect is going to tell you that it came from Allah, all these other signs that this has to be true in a sense, right? Is that clear?
clear.
So
I have a
the
question.
akal is a supplement to the nakal. So you don't just pass text on without understanding them. And then the understanding comes after you study the Quran, after you study the Sunnah, after you study Ijma, which for us that's not our level. But then when we get it after all these sources, right? And when it comes to us, when we get it, it still has to make sense to us, right? So a person that's going to be teaching it has to make it make sense to you. Is that clear?
Clear.
You had a question?
Yeah. So I remember our other class before. I'm sorry, I don't have my notes, but I know that we were talking about the sources, and one of them was, I think we did say kiosk, but as you're speaking, I'm thinking that ijma, because kiosk is basically analogy, like using your akal, basically in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and then ijma is like the consensus or agreement of the group of scholars or the Sahaba. So
Which
would
class you
ijma and
talking about?
kiosk go together?
Which
Our
class
last
you talking
Aqidah class.
about?
No. I'm lying. It was in our fit class. In our
Yeah,
fit class.
yeah. So I don't know if it applies here when we're talking about Aqidah, but I can go back and check.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. So qiyas would basically mean a analogical deduction, right? You know, in case something is not found. But here it means like once things are when you go through these, then the only thing is your rational judgment is going to tell you that all of this makes sense. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's basically it on the basic level. All right. Okay, number 8. We get these last two in. Any questions on that? Can I erase this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Any of y'all writing this down or y'all just yes.
I'm
No, I'm
writing it down
writing
and
stuff.
screenshot.
All right, because I'm gonna find out next week.
You know I'm a note taker, so why you even ask me that?
Well, I'm talking to everybody. I'm making it clear for everybody. You ain't just the only one in here. Al-Hukm. The 9th principle is Al-Hukm. So when it's related to Aqidah, what is Al-Hukm?
Rational judgments.
A hukm is what is the translation for hukm? It means you said the word judgment, but here it doesn't mean a rational judgment.
Is it the intellectual judgment?
No, it's not none of that. Here it means
I think I'm getting the hookums confused from
no,
last time.
no. So here it means when we talk about Aqidah, what is the ruling for? What is the ruling for it? For the one who engages in it. I'll give you a hint.
Oh, the three so it's Al Iliat, Al Nubuwat.
No.
It is on those three?
That was part of the Maudu, the subject matter.
Oh, so Wajib, Musta'il, and Jaiz, right?
Yeah, that's part of the Maudu subject matter. That's the subject matter of Aqidah, the necessary, impossible with respect to Allah's messages. Now we talk about the judgment. What is the ruling on entering to the science? Who has to learn it?
The Mukhalaf.
Okay. The Mukallaf, and when the Mukallaf learn it, what is that called? What is the obligation?
It's obligatory knowledge. Fard Ain.
Fard
Oh,
Ain.
Fard Ain and Fard Kifaya. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Individual obligations and community obligations.
So here, the ruling, the foundation, the principle of the Mubadi al Asharah is that Fard Ain is every individual has to learn the basic, right? Or every individual is Mukallaf. Tell us what it's Mukallaf, Sister Zakaria.
You want me to describe the points of it?
No, who was Mukallaf?
First you have to be a Muslim. You have to reach the age of puberty. For a female, it is usually when she starts her menses. For a male, it's usually when he has the nocturnal dream, pubic hairs, or they reach the age of 15. They also must have sound mind. And like I said, the message of Islam has reached them.
Muslimun, Akilun, Salimun, and what's the other one? Bulugun. That the proper message of Islam has reached them. So a person has to be Muslim. They have to be intelligent, meaning that they're not, their senses are there. They have to be silent, meaning their senses are sound. They're not like, they're not R-worded or something, or some type of mental disorder, and that they, the bulug, meaning the message has reached them. the proper message. All right. So here with this, under this hukum, under the Mubadi al Asharah, 10 foundational principles, hukum, the judgment means that the one who, every person has to learn it, and then far kifaya, meaning that someone has to teach it. Give me another expansive definition of far kifaya.
Things that must be done by a member of the community.
Yeah. And what happens if it's not done?
Then the people in the community are at fault.
Yeah, the
And
whole community is
is
responsible. That's
yeah.
far kifaya. So what's it? So learning Aqidah is an obligation for every single person who is accountable, right? But teaching is a fard kifaya, meaning that someone has to make sure that people know what to believe properly. That's what this means by hukum here, the judgment. All right. And so you guys, this is an obligation for you all, but in your communities or in your families, if no one else is teaching this and you learn it, you actually have an obligation to teach it if no one else is doing it. And then some scholars say that then at that point, if no one else is teaching, it becomes a fard ayn on somebody. So y'all heard that?
Yes.
Y'all better go on those masjids or your location and start teaching. Just take it over. Nah, don't just take it over. So, all right, so like in your families or anybody you're responsible for, if you're the only one that know these issues of Aqidah, it's upon you to teach. So there's no excuse, oh, I'm not qualified. No, if you know what you're supposed to know, you got to teach it. All right? Because ain't none of us qualified. All right. Any I mean in real time, none of us are qualified, but if we know what we know, then we have an obligation to teach people and not leave them in ignorance about belief. All right.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So everyone says, pick a teacher, find a teacher, pick them and stick with them. What qualifies someone to be a teacher outside of their families?
What qualifies to be a teacher is that they also had a teacher. And
Okay.
so, and then the teacher has given them what's called ijazah, or a license or authorization to teach, meaning that the traditional way of learning Islam is that you sat in front of the teacher or the scholar, and the scholar teaches you the subject, and then he makes sure you know the subject, and you run it back to him, and then he authorizes you to teach because he knows that you know it. And so this tradition has been around for 1,000 years. Teacher to student, and it's called an isnad or senate of people teaching religious texts and religious principles, right? And so you'll know when someone is a teacher, right? Because they're the teacher. And they also can trace their teaching credentials. I learned from my sheikh, who learned from his sheikh, who learned from his sheikh. That goes all the way back to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi
So
Wasallam.
Is
ISNA
it
is a timeline of narrations that were being taught, basically in simple terms.
Right. Go ahead. So you had another question, sis?
is it disrespectful to ask someone, who were their teachers?
No.
Okay, because I asked the teacher that, and ooh, she went off on me.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
you
it's
don't
not.
need to be learning from her, then.
Yeah. So it's not disrespectful to do it because you have a right to know, but most teachers will tell you. Most teachers who are qualified, just like in our West learning system in the West, there's nobody that's not going to teach unless they have a degree, right? And so in the Western system, that degree is their credential, right? And so they could just tell you, I went to Rutgers, I went to Harvard, right? I went to, that's my who I learned from. And then that whole system, they have a whole curriculum, right? It's the same way in Islam, but it's really more in person. It's not by a grade system that you can go to school and be a C student and still pass, right? So in the Islamic system, a teacher who's been taught who was taught by a teacher, and all this is verified. And then as they know it, they verify it. And then you learn from that, and you can be able to trace. So most thorough teachers, right, they can tell you that, right, who they learn from, where they learn from, you know. And so these institutions are still around. Like if someone says they studied in Yemen or Syria or Sudan, they have what's the word I'm looking for? They have institutions in place that can be verified, where they have, you know, generations of learning. Is that clear?
Yes, thank
Yeah, but no, it should. And a teacher who is worth their weight in teachers should not be offended. They should not be offended. Number 10, the last Mubadi al Asharah is called Masail. And what is Masail? It's usually translated as issues, or when questions arise, right? Issues of specific cases, and context. So that means that this 10th principle of these 10 principles with respect to Aqidah is that when certain issues arise related to Aqidah, you have to know the issues on how to respond using the science of Aqidah or Ilm Kalam. Are you talking to a child who just needs to know Kul Hu Allahu Ahad? Are you talking to someone that Allah is sufficient? Are you talking to someone who's an atheist? Are you talking to someone whose faith is low? Are you talking to someone who's an educated professor and they think they know Islam? You know, knowing the issues and the context and when to use the science. That's what Masail is. Do you need to give someone comfort to help them strengthen their iman? Or does someone apostate from Islam and then you're trying to convince them knowing the proofs, right? So knowing the situations and the issues that occur, the Masail, that's what Masail means, like issues or questions, right? So if someone has an issue, they ask them a question. So that's the purpose of this 10th principle, all right? And so we'll review these next week, and then we'll get into the text. So next week, we will start I will probably have a PowerPoint presentation, because this is okay, but I don't know if this works for y'all.
Is it the poem that you sent to me that I asked about?
Yeah, Aqidah to Najat. That's the poem. It's only 19 lines.
Yeah, I saw that.
But in those 19 lines, Aqidah to Najat is the Aqidah of salvation. That's going to be the minimum amount that a Muslim who is responsible, they need to know. And once they learn that and master that, then you go on to higher levels of learning the creed.
So that's the text that we'll be going over next week.
Yes.
How do I get that?
I'll send you a copy.
Thank you.
I'll post it in the group, sis. I got it.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, so post it in the group. And so I try to do these hybrid classes where you know, for people who are in person and people online, but I'm having difficulty with my people in person. I'm gonna have to put out an APB. Like, if you don't come learn this stuff, I'm gonna drill you. If you don't pass the drill, you better get the class or don't come back to the masjid no more. No, I can't do that. But
would be nice, right? Because this is obligatory knowledge that one must learn, not just going to the masjid on Juma. You know, that's beautiful, but if you don't know nothing about Allah, then all of that is voided, like it says.
Or it's deficient at best, right? So okay, so any questions before we conclude?
Are we having a test?
Not right away, but I
Oh,
want
I
you to
love tests.
okay. You're
I
gonna love
know
my
I
test.
get anxiety. He freaks me out every time.
Yeah. So we're not gonna have a test right away, but I want you to be able to run off these 10 Mubadi al Asharah. These are not part of the text, but this is what's introduced whenever you learn the science to really get a feel for the science. So when we talk about Aqidah, you need to know the had. What is the definition? You need to know the Maudu. What is the subject matter of Aqidah? You need to know the Thamarat. What are the fruits of Aqidah? You need to know the Nisbah, right? What is the relationship to other sciences? You need to know the Fadl, the virtue, right? You need to know number 6. Wait a minute, I gotta get it myself.
And these are on past videos, correct?
Huh? Yeah, I only
These
did
are on
one. Yeah.
okay, on
Uh,
YouTube.
yes, on our page, so she can share the page with it. Well, I'm number 6
I
slipping.
gave it to her already.
My-
She should be subscribed to the channel.
Okay. Number 6, Al-Wadi, all right, the founder of the science. Number 7 is the ism, the name of the science. Number 8, Istimdad, the sources. Number 9 is the ooh, I'm slipping. I'm trying not to look. Number 9 is the hukum, excuse me, and number 10 is al-masail, the judgments. So I want you to be able to run them off.
The Arabic or the English or both?
Try to do both.
Okay,
All right.
just the
And then
10.
we will, after we get a little bit in the text, we will have a test on it. But that's going to be some time down the line. So this book, we shouldn't be in too long because it's not that long of a book. It's really like a 19-line poem. So we won't be in it that long. And hopefully we want to try to implement us memorizing it. So if you memorize this and have the understanding of the points of the poem, then you're in a good position to really, solidify your belief and also to teach it.
We have fit classes in the morning, correct?
Yeah, I'll have to start that. I have one class on fiqh, the book we're doing. I'm going to resume it. So I made a vow to start next month, the beginning of
Okay.
December. So I just kind of fell off
Inshallah.
But we'll pick it
So
back up, inshallah.
we're gonna
Inshallah,
do
I'll
a
be able to
review,
join.
right? Because I think we had before we gonna do a review because we had started on that the section about the Salah. Uh, so we're gonna
Yeah,
do a review on the
yeah.
other one.
Well, just prior to Salat, because the biggest part of it was Tahara, and we kind of mostly almost through the Salat part anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, but definitely I ain't gonna just take you out in drowning area. I'm gonna make sure you do a review, inshallah. Okay, so are there any other questions? Anything that wasn't clear or anything?
Where did you get the terms that we're using? You said it's not in the lines. What source did you use to get the definitions?
Now, this is a poem that was written by a number of scholars, right? So this is just, a supplementary to understand concepts, right?
No. I'm saying that the 10 points that we are to memorize that you want us to memorize. I was trying to figure out what source did you use to get. You said it wasn't in the poem yet.
No, this is not part of the book, but this is what scholars have come up as 10 points.
Okay.
So it's not
Just
like,
want to know where I can find it and just read a little bit more. In
well,
addition to
yeah, you can, I think I have a copy of something. It's called, you can look it up, Mubadi al Asharah.
Mubadi al Asharah.
Yeah, the 10 fundamental principles. But I think I have a PDF that I'll send it to you. And
Okay.
there's a book. I don't know if you might want to purchase it.
Okay. So if you can send them to me both, inshallah, I appreciate it.
All right, inshallah. All right, so inshallah we'll finish there. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this from us, and we ask Allah to increase us in beneficial knowledge and righteous actions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our misgivings and shortcomings and misgivings. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us the people of Jannah. I mean, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Al-Fatiha. Okay, inshallah, I'll see you all next week.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
See you
Wa
next
Walaikum
week.
salam.
Walaikum assalam.